Hey everyone, I'm Christine Gritmon, and this is Social. I do this show on Facebook Live every single Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time, where I talk to various smart friends in the social media industry about elements of social media, digital marketing, all that great stuff. And today I have Troy Sandidge, aka FindTroy, here talking to me today, and we are going to talk about something that I've talked about a little bit before, but I mean, there's so many different facets to explore with it, which is automation. I have been a bit resistant to some automation stuff that's gone fairly mainstream. So I'm trying, you guys. I'm trying to kind of get it and to understand, this huge growth opportunity in our industry. So Troy, how you doing?
Hey everybody! Oh, I'm so glad to be here. Finally, yes.
Yay!
So automation is amazing. It's good. It's bad. It's ugly. We're gonna kind of hit it on a few points in our condensed 30-minute section. First thing I want to throw out there is that automation is the way of the future.
Yes.
Do not be afraid of the future. Do not be afraid of change. The world keeps rotating, whether you are having a good day or a bad day, whether in business or personal. So embrace automation. This is not a message to say don't do it. It's a message to admonish you to be careful on how you use it to make sure your audience is still intact, the community and the message aligns, and you're on the trajectory to make exponential growth, whether that's success in extending your revenue quarter through quarter four, or building and growing your brand presence and community.
All right, so let's talk about what exactly we're talking about when we talk about automation. So what are we talking about? What kind of automation?
Okay, so automation could be when you're using HubSpot for email, or marketing when you're using Sprout Social. And I'm not trying to just name names because there's a plethora of names you can use, but just to get my point across, to manage your social media, social listening tools, to see what your community is saying about you, whether it's certain themed words, hashtags, whether either mentions of your brand or your audience on social, and even Google Alerts. I mean, just plugging that in there as well to figure out, okay, this is what my audience is talking about. How do I capitalize on these trends, these tools, these people who are advocates for my brands to get my message across to more people? Automation could be from an e-commerce side. When you set up a certain pool, kind of a Kanban system, once you get that certain threshold where you only got 10 supplies left, it reloads for you. All these different components come into play to ultimately make sure you hit your bottom line.
Okay, great. So to be clear, we're not just talking about things like, chat bots or anything like that. We're talking about all the different parts of your own business process that you can automate to just make life easier and make sure that things happen.
Yes. And fun plug, chatbots. I mean, our dear friend Kelly Marabella. I mean,
yes.
If you want to know about chatbots, go find her. She's amazing.
Absolutely. Stellar 24/7. Baby got chat.
Woo.
So to back up to some of those things that you mentioned like in your HubSpot CRM or something like that, how you might want to automate something about social listening. Let's dig a little bit more into the automations that are available for that people maybe haven't even necessarily thought of in their businesses that can really just help you accomplish a lot more with a lot less effort.
Sure. So there's a plethora of, let's just tag social listening tools. AgroPulse, Sprout Social.
Yep, I use AgroPulse.
Of great, cost-effective, efficient social listening tools out there to help you figure it out. So why would I use a social listening tool to automate some of my process?
Yeah, let's define social listening for people also.
Correct. So if you're on the phone and you got a whole bunch of people talking, you can't really hear each person individually, where there's tools that allows you to do that. So you're knowing everyone's talking about you, the good about you, or the bad about you, or they haven't fully decided yet. And if you wake up everyone like me and let's say you're a solopreneur or you're a team of one, an army of one, as Jelly Monta likes to say, you don't have the time always to spend 3 hours in the morning seeing what people are talking about.
You're not going to sit there Googling yourself and searching your hashtags and your relevant search terms in every single platform. If that's all you got to do, then people probably aren't talking about you.
And in reality, I mean, sure, you may love doing that. You may get a good kick and energy out of that. But can you honestly say that's a good use of your time? Whether if you're listening and you know what people are saying up front, guess what? That gives you more time to engage, to communicate, to respond to those key emails, those key tweets, those key Facebook posts. People are tagging you, mentioning certain things. People where you're featuring you in the news and other media outlets. You're more aware, more woke, as we like to say, and your audience will gravitate towards that. So keep that in mind. And for people who say, well, I've always done it this way, I always ask people this. If this isn't working for you, and we suggest you something, either two things are going to happen. It's going to work amazing for you, or guess what? You're going to be exactly where you are.
Yep.
Nothing's going to change.
It's not going to be worse.
Go up, be the same level. So do consider this. It's something that you need to do. And for those who also are afraid of technology, learn to embrace. I'm not saying you got to be in touch with every little thing, but if you can have start small. Start small.
Let's talk about how people can start small.
Listening is the easy way to do that. Yeah. So I would say, number one, just do Google Alerts. Honestly, that's probably the easiest thing to do. If you know you're in a niche industry, whether it's marketing, whether you're trying to sell a certain type of product to a certain audience, just put keywords that match your type of product or your service that you're doing in Google Alerts and see what comes up every day. Now that gives you a cool source every morning to share to your audience to show that you're in the know and what's going on with the trends pertaining to your industry.
It's fantastic. It's like getting a curated newsletter just for you every single day or however often that you want the digest. It could be weekly. I personally have a Google alert for each of the major social media platforms. And every single day in my inbox, I get the latest news, and that's what I use to put together my midweek minute. I also have, over time, discovered some of those sources that kept coming up with good information, and I've subscribed directly to those newsletters because I have learned through that curated Google feed how to further curate my best sources, and it just saves so much time. I don't have to go digging to find out what's happening. I have it delivered straight to me because I've set up that automation, and it's something anyone could do. It's Google, people. It's Google, the ultimate, and everyone can access it. So let's and you mentioned some other tools that do social listening. So those basically things like Agorapulse. How do you use that sort of thing? How have you used that sort of thing?
So for me, I'm not so much. I'm not so much listening about myself.
Me
I
neither.
Really care less about myself, and I know that sounds weird. I care about
context.
What people I emulate people who I inspire. Obviously, you're one of them. People who I feed off of, can make kind of adjustments on my own brand or for my community or my clients. Those are the people I want to listen to. If I can get there ahead of maybe thousands of other people who won't get it till this afternoon, and I can make a pivot that day to capitalize on that, I win. That's great. Yeah. So I think either doing it that way or, plot twist, listen to your competitors. What are your competitors doing? If they're pushing a certain video push that you think, that wouldn't work as an ad campaign, not an app, but a thing you can do. I'll send it to you. But it's about, basically, you can set up your information of who you're following as a competitor, and they'll send you an email back of every time they send you a new Facebook ad from your competitor. You'll be able to see what it looks like, who their audiences are, and things like that as well. So again, I think focus on your competitor or focus on your community, on both or even one or the other.
Yeah, it gives you really a 360 view of the picture that you are trying to fit into, and that is tremendous, and that will set you ahead. Now, let's go into business processes. So that's social listening. You also mentioned some business processes you can automate, including things I think you touched upon, doing stuff in a CRM. Let's talk about how you can provide better service in your business by automating some of the stuff that you really don't need to be devoting direct brain to and reinventing the wheel every time.
Correct. So again, let's go back to a small business person. You own a coffee shop, or you're an agency of 1 or 3 people, and you have people who are in the top of the funnel who are asking for more information about who you are. Normally people ask you about who your typical clients are, or when's your hours of service are, things of that nature, things that you don't have to keep responding to. Even just studies show if you take 15 minutes away to do something meaningless that won't kind of direct you from your main task, you're going to be off for a good hour. Not just 5 to 10.
Because then you got to get your head back in the game.
Right, exactly. So setting up maybe a chatbot for Messenger, Kelly, yes, or even simply an email responder for keywords or something to kind of filter that person through a funnel of chain commands. beforehand saves you so much time. If all they want to know was your hours, your phone number, your email, who you work with, your validation, and then that response is sending links to your blog or sending links to where you've been featured, and it solves the solution for you, great. That's less time for you. Now, you're probably wondering, but no, I want to touch everything. I want to talk to everyone. And you can't. If you want to grow, you're going to have to do less minuscule stuff and more big picture stuff. That's just the task of how you're going to grow exponentially. So that's an easy way to kind of funnel that through. Sure, we get afraid of what if they're going to like it. The key here at any automation that involves you as a message, whether it's print, video, or some digital component, don't make it sound like a robot. Still have that human element. Just very simple. Maybe sign your signature. Guess what? Add an emoji. You're like, Troy, really? Add an emoji. Watch. People will think it's more humanized that way.
Now, what are some good and bad ways that you have seen these? I mean, we've all seen the bad. The bad, for example, is, completely unpersonalized, makes it impossible to find out how to even reach a person if you have a question that's not that basic. So what are some ways you've seen people do it well? Let's move to the good part. How can people do that well and include that personal touch even if there's kind of an auto-response thing going on?
Obviously, number one, I've been doing this for years, personal name, not first and last, their personal preferred name, right out the gate. So you're probably wondering, how do I get that? If someone responds and then you ask their automation, ask for their first and last name or just their first name, great. So now the conversation is more direct, it's more personal, even though it's still automated, number one. Number two, less copy is better.
Yeah.
I'd rather go through a series of short spent answers than a ton of copy. Like someone asks you, Christina, what's your about? Who are you? And you get this long plethora of what you've done, all the places you've spoken to, everything else. Sure, they wanted to hire you as a speaker, but this is like too much stuff to figure out. So then the next question when they ask for about, do you want to learn about my social media? Do you want to book me for a speaking opportunity? Do you want to handle a consultation or other? Or you just want to follow me and just see how awesome content it is? Yeah. Once they make that next decision, guess what? I just saved a whole bunch of time. I filter them in a certain thing. And now if they want to select her for a speaker, guess what? Okay, here's her email. Contact her. Now she gets a notification. This person is interested for her to speak in a different filter. And I know how to approach them when I'm talking to them one-on-one versus like, oh, they're a general person. I have no idea what to say. It solves so much time. And she can spend more time with her family, her children, and just go off to the moon.
And there's so many little chats like that popping up on websites now. I feel like every time I go to someone's website, it's not even just like when I actually initiate a chat, like I Facebook message a page to ask them a question. That we've all seen, but now I'm seeing increasingly, if I'm just on a website, a little thing comes up in the corner and says, "Hey, Christine." A lot of times they know it's Christine because they can do plugins like that, and the internet always knows who we are and what we're doing at all times anyway. But so sometimes it says, "Hey, Christine," but sometimes it just says, "Hey there." Sometimes it's very generic and easy to ignore. It says, "Are you finding what you're looking for?" But sometimes it's a lot more specific, and those are great because those encourage you to answer. There's one that I was on recently that said, "Hey there, are you a small business owner?" Which is actually something I should put on my website. Because I mean, that's a lot of people who I'm going to be, I mean, I should probably have one that says, "Hey, are you a small business owner?" And if they say no, I should say, "Okay, are you," and then give a handful of other things that they might be to know kind of what stuff to direct them towards. Like, are you planning a conference? Then I'll direct them to my speaker page. I don't know. What have you done? What have you done with automations that you've seen work?
So I think to add to this point before I get to my answer, is to know automation from your perspective helps so much. We can get so lost in PPC and the data of, okay, this audience or this location is going to my website, but that extra automation to then ask, what are you looking for? Sure, there may be everyone in your tri-state area, but they're all looking for this one product that maybe you would not have captured just looking at the data from the outputs off that stuff.
Yeah, so you can't just look at it as research, like demographic research. Right. You also have to look at it as market research. What are they there for? What brought them there? What can you do with that information?
Yes. So one thing we have done, I've worked with clients on the past, is SMS text messaging push.
Ooh, that's obviously a whole other level. Let's get into that.
Yes. That, and I know everyone's like, okay, what can we say legally? What can we do with this and that? putting that all aside from that's a conversation for another day. Mm-hmm. But if you get into a certain way where you have an audience, what we did was the audience goes through a series of course trainings. And after so many, if they're engaging, we see they're at the top 10%, we'll send them a simple message to say, hey, would you like to subscribe into our text messaging program group where we don't spam, we don't send things that we know this audience pool will not love because we have a whole bunch of data proving they love this type of content. So then we'll send something every other week to just say, hey, watch this video. And then also, not just everyone can watch a video, add to the discussion. Be a part of our next, so we know what ideas we should write about next for our next courses. Now they're feeling they're a part of the journey. They're a part of the process. They're a part of making a course that they enjoy to watch. And then when they get to watch it, hey, I was a part of it. They used my quote. They used my message. They used my opinion or my suggestion in this new course. We're just keeping the community engaged, keeping them coming in back for more. And now the power of word of mouth, hey, so-and-so, they added me in. You should subscribe to this too. And it's blown up very well for us.
They're invested. I really like that. Yeah. Though you bring me to another question. So SMS, texting people. When I first heard that this was starting to be a thing, I thought it was crazy. I was like, who is going to say yes to that? I mean, I'm someone, I don't have any, the only apps that give me alerts on my phone, basically, besides if, like, a kid gets kidnapped or, like, there's a tornado. I do have Facebook Messenger sending me alerts, but if I had alerts on anything else, if I had alerts every time, my husband has alerts whenever anyone does something on Facebook. That would drive me insane. I have too much going on. So when I first heard about this, I was like, why on God's green earth would I ever want text messages from a company? And then I signed up for a few. And really, the ones who are doing it right are opening the door for the others because I'm realizing I'm not getting bothered. I'm getting special deals. I'm getting offers. Is it annoying sometimes that, like, the lunch place down the street randomly texts me, twice a week saying, hey, buy one, get one off cookies today? Right. Yeah, but at the same time, if I want a cookie, damn, that's really great that I get buy one, get one off. So, where do you think the line is for what people should send out in those SMS messages? Like, what is text worthy? I mean, it's one level of stuff if you're going to put stuff publicly on your Facebook page or your website or something. Then there's another level for stuff that you're going to, like, email out to people, for example, right? Hopefully you're not sending everything everywhere. What is the level for things that you think work in that direct text level? Because that's very direct and personal.
I've learned from experience on both ends something that's exclusive. And I really push the word exclusive because it's kind of like, again, when someone chooses to get you in and ask to your text messaging program, that's a next level of friendship.
It is beyond sliding into their DMs. I have real life friends whose cell phone numbers I don't have just because we, see each other in real life or we DM. And so the fact that a company has my cell phone message when the person I see every single day at school drop-off and pickup doesn't, I'm like, so it's got to feel exclusive, huh? So kind of like, hey, you're in the club?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, really. And then you could also use it as a way to test out the market. I mean, very extreme A/B testing style. Let's say you have a new keynote that you're pushing to see how well people receive it before you distribute to the masses. All right, I got my crew of 25 individuals who will support me, share my stuff, watch all of my videos, the full 30-hour, whatever long specials. Let's see what they do. And they'll get it, they'll add their opinions, their suggestions. Hey, I like this portion, let's move this over here. And it kind of can work both ways. Again, you're probably wondering, well, Troy, this doesn't work for every business. It does, though. Any business, no matter if you're B2B, B2C, Fortune 500, a business of one, you have the opportunity to build community. And having that pivot to have an exclusive kind of barrier of conversations only to this group, they're going to feel elite, they're going to feel special, and they're going to, on their own, more times than not, be evangelists and brand advocates for you in ways that money can't buy. This is where we live in a time now where people on social media with one tweet can shut down a company that has millions of dollars of revenue and they're still hitting the mark. One person can hit one tweet and go viral overnight. How?
Yeah.
Why? Because they hit the right people at the right time.
It's about community, and you can use community in a good way and you can use community bad way.
Yes.
That's fantastic. All right, I don't know if it's just my system. I haven't seen any comments or anything, which is rare. So I have a feeling that it's just that Ecamm is not showing them to me for some reason. But I think I see George. Oh, I do see some stuff. Well, anyway, so before we kind of wrap it up, if anyone is out there and does have any questions for Troy, hopefully we'll be able to see them. So if you could just go ahead and bring those out. But in the meantime, Troy, tell us a little bit more about what you do and how these automations fit into the context of your personal workflow.
Sure. So for me, I am a person who does consulting work. I work a full-time job as the Associate Director of Digital Marketing for the National Democratic Training Committee. Oh, tongue twister there. I do have a wife. I do have a life outside of digital, believe it or not. So I do live on Twitter.
Not a digital wife? So she's not a hologram?
No. And I do have a life, so it's just managing my time. The automation tools help me to pick and choose, and this is why I'm getting better. I think we're all, as entrepreneurs, as consultants, or just in the digital spaces, learning how to prioritize digital, not live on it too much, because we need that real life experiences. We can't just be tuned in. Every time my phone goes off, is it Twitter? Is it Twitter? Is it an email? And then how do I just decide what's good, what's bad as I'm juggling my
And how do you make sure that phone and those alerts are working for you as opposed to you having to answer to every time your phone makes a noise? Like, how do you make sure that you're the boss?
I know it's hard, people. It's hard for me too. But do not disturb is your best friend. I actually on my calendar mark on times on all my things to focus on my social media for Twitter, my personal, or working with my company, calls throughout the day with my wife or my dad or my other family members, just breaks to consume content, curate content, and those things are automated too. Troy, here's the top feeds of your top people that you follow on Twitter and your Twitter list that they're talking about this. You should retweet this, read it, read their articles, watch their videos, whatever. I have all this in my calendar. I know it sounds really crazy, but it keeps me on task to prioritize my time for sure.
That is brilliant, and in fact, that's giving me an idea. I should do that because what I have is I mentioned how I have the automations of the Google alerts and newsletters and things where I get news every day about social media, which I compile then for my Wednesday midweek minute. But so often I just kind of sit on it. And then Tuesday night or Wednesday morning, I'm like, oh, crap, I got to do this. And so I'm like going through all these things. It would be so much better if maybe I say, you know what? I'm going to tell Google and I'm going to tell, my newsletters or whatever, I want to see this at 9 a.m. every morning. 9 a.m., 9 to 9:30. I'm just going to plow through this stuff and that's my thing and see where I'm going to do this now. You're a good influence, Troy.
Very small. Like for me, every time I'm on train ride, from 8 to 9, my whole hour, I'm listening to a podcast, I'm scheduling a post for my personal accounts, and I'm reviewing who I love to follow online so I can keep those relationships on task and still be present in their lives. Mm-hmm. And after that hour, now it's back to work. So just modulating your time can make a big difference. I'm not saying you got to go OCD about it, but try it for a week and see how well you perform.
Time blocking, time management, all of that. And if you slot the automations in there too, then it's so clear what you have to do when, and you don't have to spend the beginning of that time block shoveling through stuff because it's already laid out for you. That is fantastic. I love that. Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else in particular I want to ask you. I'm really surprised that I'm not seeing comments, so it might be technical difficulties. I don't know. I've had a few of those lately.
Y'all can always contact me later at FindTroy, and we can talk about this later. I'm all for it. Bring it on.
Yes. Plus, the comment thread is still here, so we can always pop back in. Yeah, fantastic. I'm curious as to how you started dipping your toe into automation, because it can be daunting. How did you start saying, you know what, I can't do everything manually myself. I'm going to make my life easier and reclaim some of my time. What did you start with?
Sure.
That's a good place to start with.
So this goes back to 2014 even, when I was just a little social media pup. I didn't know anything about it. I just knew I loved tweeting, and that's about it. What I realized is, I can give all this engagement on my time, but spend a lot of time on that. I didn't do my task. I didn't make a campaign. I didn't create, because then when you're army of one, you got to create the graphics. You got to find the audiences. You got to schedule when you're going to post them.
You got to do all the things.
And that took away time. try to engage, and I love engaging. That's my favorite part. But I don't get to engage if I don't content ready to go for my audience to engage with, for me to engage back. I know that's inception, but you get my point. Yeah. So that's when I realized, okay, I need to make a pivot and a change. So I'm looking up what are things I can utilize to do this. Now, this is also the time we didn't have all the tools that we have now.
Yeah.
I know you're thinking, 2014 wasn't a long time ago.
Oh, it really was. Even 2016 really was forever ago.
I mean, TikTok wasn't even in 2014.
It was crazy.
So, finding these automations, and my skill level and my choice of use has changed as the years go on, as more things are developed, and you learn more about yourself as an entrepreneur, as a marketer, and even on your audiences as well. So with the simple tools was the Google alerts to figure out what's trending, so I don't have to spend 2 hours getting up even earlier to figure out what I'm going to talk about today or even this week, or to know, okay, something happened political or something happened tragic over the world. I shouldn't post today. I should be that conscious to not post anything that's salesy because a tragedy is going on. Be quiet. Yeah. So those are the things that I started to do. And as I progressed on, it got easier, but I maintained my human touch, the human element in my messaging and my tone and my response.
Which brings me to another question, which is, what's your feeling on using automation towards engagement? By what I mean by that is, I know that there are, for example, there are programs where on Instagram, if they see a post that uses a particular set of hashtags, they'll automatically comment on it, like great post or whatever the heck. What are your feelings on engagement automation?
I will say this, especially on that perspective, the audience, we're much smarter than we were a year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. Quite frankly, honestly, we all can figure out things relatively quickly.
Leaps and bounds. It's really been an exponential growth in this knowledge base.
Correct. And if you have someone who follows you on all the channels and follows all your posts, and you're using that automated response more than like 3 times all over the place, then you know that's not you. You know it's some automated system or something across the lines, and that's going to just kind of degenerate the experience. So I encourage anyone who's in marketing and social to tread lightly with caution. I would rather and prefer having an automation to give out when you hear not just, I like when someone gives you a reply no matter what it is, but a full, like if someone says, I like to learn more about this from a video that they watched, and then the response is, here's a link to more, and that personal name, if you can automate that in there, that goes much further than just liking everything and saying thank you for watching 1,000,000 times for 1,000 people. Yeah. And if you don't know, the action, the fun is in the comments. We'll all be in the comments and scrolling like, okay, they're responding to the same thing 10 things in. This doesn't make sense. What is going on here? And you lose credibility that way. That doesn't mean that if people catch you using automation, we're like, oh, automation alert, you're not real, you're not authentic, you're not transparent. No, that's not the case at all. What I am saying is be cautious on how you're using it. Just how you're using a car, anything that you utilize, you have to be wise enough to consider your audience and make sure that it's going to hit your end goal. Maybe sometimes when you're in doubt about should I or shouldn't, just don't do it. Yep. Just don't do it.
Just do it the old-fashioned way. Do it manually then.
Yeah, pick and choose 25 that stand down and comment on it and call it a day. Next video, hey, I'm only picking 25, so you better have some good comments down below.
Yeah, and it is also an opportunity for branding because it is a brand touch. It's an interaction with your brand. So any bit of personality you can put into it, that'll make it more human, that'll make it more effective, and that gives you an additional brand exposure opportunity. So we do have 2 questions. One of them is Lori wants to know the first thing you would implement related to automation if you just were starting from scratch right now. What's the first thing you'd be like, okay, gotta automate that?
Lori? Oh, goodness. All right. The first thing. Industry-driven notifications. So anything about your industry, good or bad, being sent to your email or sent to your phone, I think that's the first thing you should do. You need to know what's going on in your space before you can figure out who competitors you need to watch or who competitors you can ignore, where your audience is. If you don't know your industry, none of these other things will fall in line for automation processes for you.
Love that. And then George wants to know if you program bots.
I have once. I think I need Kelly for the rest of my help with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The people who are good at it are good at it, and they might as well get into it. My husband used to be a programmer, and I'm trying to get him into bots, mostly so that he has an excuse to come to social media marketing world with me. That's really my master plan. It could also be a good little side income hustle, but at the same time, it's really just I want him to come to conferences.
I will say some of these things now with the power of YouTube and how simplistic these things are, they're not as intimidating as you may think.
Yeah.
Just because I just said I've only built one as of now.
Things like ManyChat
I really don't
guide
have the
you
capacity
through.
right now. Correct, it really does. I really don't have the capacity right now to dive in as I would like to. Yeah. But if you spend a week, an hour a day to really focus on these things, I guarantee you it'll be worth it in the long run.
Nice. Well, thank you so much, Troy Sandidge. FindTroy. It has been an honor and a privilege to have you on today. For those who don't know, Troy and I met at Social Media Week Lima in Lima, Ohio, which was a phenomenal event. They already have the dates announced for next June, so check it out. I know it's like Lima, Ohio, but yes, Lima, Ohio. Seriously, it's all about Jess Phillips.
Hey, for someone who just went for the first time, I thought the same way that I went. It changed my life forever.
Yeah. Amazing. All right, and I am Christine Gritmon, and I do this show every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Next week, I'm going to have the phenomenal Kathy Klotz guest, and she's fabulous because she takes her skills and training in acting and improv and playing, really, and applies them to marketing and how to make marketing more human. So we're going to talk about that, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And I hope you tune in next week.